So, in this example, we're going to submit a pull request to the Dnn.Platform repository. Now, just to kind of describe what's happening right now with the different DNN repositories. It used to be multiple repositories and some of them just got merged. So at the time of recording this video, there is only 3 repositories you need to care about. The Dnn.Platform repository is basically the platform. It's all the server code for DNN, and this has practically no UI for managing all the persona bar. So this will be the core APIs, it will be the how to show the modules on the page, like everything that you would use, the module settings, everything that's not in the persona bar basically. Then there's a repository that's there only to provide components for React modules, which is DNN React Common, and these are a collection of React components that are reusable in not only the persona bar, but they could be reused in modules. So this one, it's rare that you're gonna need because it's not DNN specific, it's just some set of styled components that match a certain style and can be reused on anything. And then we have the DNN Admin Experience repository, which was recently merged from 3 repositories: the DNN Admin Experience Library, the DNN Admin Experience Extensions, and the DNN Admin Experience Edit Bar. So they used to all be separate repositories, now they got merged into DNN Admin Experience. So in that repository you're going to see a library folder, an extensions folder, and an edit bar folder. Further down in the extensions folder, you're going to have a folder for each of the persona bar menu items, which is content, manage, and settings. And inside of those folders, you're going to have a folder for each of the persona bar modules, the persona bar extensions. So for our first example, we're going to do a pull request on the DNN platform, and then we're going to expand our knowledge and do another pull request on the DNN admin experience, or the persona bar, which has little tricks additional to what we're going to do on this one. So let's go hands-on and do one pull request on the DNN platform. So the issue that we are going to try to solve in this example for pull request on the Dnn.Platform repository will be an issue when filling up user profile properties. So the first thing you should do if you are the person creating the issue, step 1 is to create an issue that is well documented. That's very important. You have to explain things like you would explain to a 10 years old child. It's not because people who are gonna tackle this are 10 years old, it's just that they're not with you. So sometimes something that's really obvious to you, someone getting there might not be using that section of DNN as often as you and might not be familiar. And yeah, it's very important to have really well documented issues, how to reproduce safely. Not to state the obvious, but can you do it on the latest release on a clean install with the default skin? If that's not the case, the problem is associated either with the skin, either with an older version of DNN where the issue has already been solved. So make sure you try on the latest version, make sure you try on the default skin, make sure you go explicit, you know, really precise how to reproduce the issue. So the one I took here was this one here, 2146. So basically I'm gonna show you first. If you go into your user profile, or if you go into someone else's user profile and you want to enter an address here. So I'm in Quebec in Canada. So if I'm filling this here, okay, I have no unit, I have some address or some street and city. I'm in Montreal, and then the region for here is Quebec. So if I type in Quebec, it's fine. If I go to the country and start typing Canada, there's gonna be, or even if I just type CAN, there's a couple countries that have Canada in the name, and I wanna select Canada. And what happens, this switches to a drop-down instead of the text field, and it loses the region. So I'm gonna continue with the postal code and everything, and I'm gonna have no region, or the form might not even save it. That's required. So the problem is that the country sets the content of the region. So the country should be before the region. That's one of the problems. The other problem is if you have form fill suggestions. So if I go into my Chrome settings, and I search for fill, autofill settings, you see your addresses. So I'm gonna put Dan uh, something something in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Save. I'm gonna put a second one, my girlfriend, which happens to live at the same address, which I typed anything here. Okay, let's say we go with 2, but usually you can have 3, 4, 5 if you have kids in the house, or if you have fields on different websites. This will auto-populate as you fill forms on websites. So if you have 2, 3 email addresses like I do, each of the different fields that you're going to select with one email address and with another email address, that's going to create two or 3 or 4 profiles every time you enter something new. So now if I go back to the same form, I don't know if I need to refresh. No, I don't even need to refresh. So now the browser does the same thing. It's going to offer me form fill suggestions. So if I go into, yeah, I'm going to have to refresh. If I go now into the region and I type Quebec, and in the country I start typing Canada, let's say CAN, okay, you see that the browser suggestions cover the DNN suggestions. So as a user, I'm gonna take this, and I may never see that DNN had suggestions. And when selecting it from the browser suggestions, it does not populate the region, because DNN did not recognize that you actually selected this. So you would have to go Canada and press escape in order to see what's under that, and then that box will work. So we have the issue of the order, and we have the issue that the browser suggestions should not show. So it's very easy for me. I've done it. I know exactly what's the issue. Now, to explain this to someone like I just did to you, I need to be very, very explicit. If I just say browser form field suggestions, hide the country and region suggestions, someone's going to go try that and has no form suggestion in his browser because it's a development machine, maybe something a virtual machine that you just fire up for that test and you didn't use it every day, or you might be using another browser like Firefox or Internet Explorer, and that browser does not have the same issue, which is the case for this bug because there is already on these fields. If I go inspect, there is already the suggestion. Oh, let me separate this here. Okay, so on the input fields there is already actually there is on the latest version. Looks like the version I install here doesn't have it, but believe me, on the latest version, if you get a nightly build or something, the input has I'm really surprised I don't see it here. Yeah, so on the latest version it has autocomplete equals off, which is not the case here for because I didn't install the latest nightly build. So it should already, maybe on the region field, let me just check, select input, and it isn't. I'm really surprised by this. So anyway, on the latest build it's there, but basically even if you have autofill or autocomplete equals to off specified on the input field, that does not work in the latest versions of Chrome, and most of the people consider this a bug, but it looks like Chrome refused to accept that as a bug and they won't fix this. So it might very well be that this issue does not happen in Firefox Internet Explorer. So it's important in the steps to reproduce this issue. Well, first I have a description that's a little bit larger explaining this, and then the steps to reproduce. You need to use some saved autofill addresses in Chrome. So it's important. It's on Chrome, and you need to have autofill addresses in the settings. And then you need to create a DNN user, try to edit the profile, region and country, and you can see that it covers. And in the description I also mentioned that the country should always be before, and I've tested it on Chrome. I did not test in Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, or Edge. So these things here, when you create your issue, they come in little boxes like this. So they come like this, so you can just put an X in the ones that you have tested. The ones you're not sure, you can put a question mark. If you know it works, then leave it blank, and we know that it was introduced in this or that version. Same thing for the browsers. If the issue has absolutely nothing to do with the browser, you could just delete this whole section. So you fill out everything you can, but if something just doesn't make sense, just delete it from the template. So that's something that people can easily reproduce, and they know exactly how to do it. And it's better to have too many details than too few. And then people may comment on this and offer some sort of way to do it, and basically you can discuss this before even trying to submit a pull request. So what we want from our issue here is the issue number. So 2146 will be our issue. When we create our branch, we'll use that for the branch name. But more importantly, when you submit the pull request, this needs to be mentioned so people know this pull request will close this issue. Okay, so that's the problem. Now the solution. We need to go get the DNN. I'm gonna skip all the GitHub part, so you would be forking it to your own GitHub account, then you would be cloning it, which is what we're gonna do here. Again, we don't want a too long of a folder path, so I'm gonna take my Dnn.Platform here and I'm gonna put it on some short named folder on a drive. So I'm gonna go in this C drive DNN. Remember, we did our modules in the module folder, so we're gonna put it on the side of that in the DNN folder in order to not affect the one that's already there. Now this repository is quite larger than the simple module that we did before, and it's gonna take a few minutes to get everything. If memory serves me good, it's about 60 megs download plus all the processing that goes into actually checking out the default development branch. So I'm gonna speed up the video until we are ready to work on it and we have no text on the bottom left here. While that completes, I'm going to show you that in the Dnn.Platform repository, well, you have the Dnn.Platform, you have packages, documentation, you have a couple build scripts and stuff, and you have a website folder. So this, everything that we're going to build from the other folders will get put into the website folder, which is what you'll use to actually install a website. Now, you don't want to run off of that folder, the test website, because this is tracked by GitHub. So any changes made here will make you new changes that you will need to either commit or discard. And if you discard them, you lose what you were doing. If you commit them, you're doing commits for stuff that is local that you don't want to push to any repository. So this is only the output folder for the build of DNN. What we want to do is take stuff from here and copy it into an actual other running website to do our tests. Now, it's not the best, most elegant way, and there's a lot of work being done at this moment to improve the build processes both for local builds and for automated builds so that we have nightly builds. Now, usually I will take the nightly build as my test site, because that's the latest build, including all the most recent changes. And you can find that if you go to the dnnsoftware.com website, and if you click on downloads, you're gonna see Dnn.Platform. And then on this page you have the normal releases and you have a nightly build tab. And if you grab this install package, that's what I'm gonna usually take to install my test site. However, at the moment of recording this video, this has problems and the site does not come up. So it's a bad time to be recording these videos because there's work being done on the build process, and I'm guessing something went wrong with this package. So you don't have a workable site right now at this moment with this. But this is a build from yesterday, and this problem might be fixed tomorrow, who knows, or next week. So that's the usual way that I'm gonna get it. Another way is to go into the GitHub DNN software, organization, and if you go into the Dnn.Platform, you gonna see, if you scroll down a little bit, a little badge here, build passing. This is the automated build. So every time a pull request is merged in, there's a new build that is automatic, and that builds this package. And if you click here, you should have the release package in the artifacts tab. But again, it's about time to be recording this because there's work being done on this specific process, and right now there's no artifacts here. But usually you can have your install and deploy and debug, and everything is going to be here. I tried to go into the history and check the latest successful builds, and those three had no artifacts. I don't know if maybe older ones would have it, but if they do, then it's going to be a little bit old, so it's not really going to be a nightly build per se. So for this video, I'm just going to test using the website that we already created for the modules. But that's not the usual process I do. I'm going to have another website installed just for working on the platform. So now it's ready. So in Visual Studio, we should be able to open our project. So if we just go home, we should see a solution file. I'm sorry, didn't switch here. Dnn.Platform. So I'm gonna open the Dnn.Platform solution file. As you can see, there's 48 projects in there. for the various libraries and various parts of DNN, plus one for the actual website folder, which again is just a place to put the output of the build. So we're not going to install a website from this folder. For some reason, when you open a new solution in Visual Studio, everything comes out open, so I like to clean up and close at least the first level of folders so we have something that we can work with. So DNN website, this is the website folder that we got that we're not gonna run off. It's just an output path for the other things. And if you build the DNN website project, if you go here and build it, it's gonna generate inside of the bin folder, which does not even exist yet, but if you build that, it's going to create a bin folder, and in that bin folder you're going to have a DLL called .NET Nuke.website.dll. So all the C#, let's go desktop modules, admin, security, and profile. So if I expand that, you're going to see a C# file. And if you install the website off of that folder, there is in the process of installation a step that will delete all the C# files from that directory. So if I made a change here and actually run the site, I'm going to lose that change. So that's why we cannot run off of that folder. But the change you're going to make here is going to be compiled when you build the website into .NET Nuke web.dll. So just so you're aware of this. But for this pull request, we're going to be actually editing the ASCX file, and this one stays there. So first thing, I want to make sure that my repository is up to date. So I forked it, I cloned it, but that's if it was my first pull request, which is not. So people might have worked on the repository while I was not. So I need to go make sure in the Team Explorer tab, I need to go check the branches, and I need to actually I'm gonna go in the sync, and I'm gonna, no, I can't even do it that way. I need to keep on branches. Okay, so on the development branch, I want to fetch, so that's gonna pull information, and that's why I didn't see it. So I only have origin, I don't have upstream. So I need to set up my upstream branch here. So I'm gonna go on settings, and I have, I think, GitHub open in the browser. Nope. So I'm gonna go to the GitHub DNN software organization, Dnn.Platform, and all I need is this URL. And in Visual Studio, in the repository settings, I'm going to go into the remotes and add a remote that's called upstream with the URL from github.git, and save. Now I'm gonna have new options. So if I go into sync, I can fetch from upstream, and that's gonna pull metadata, it's gonna pull information. You see resolving deltas 290 things, but it still don't show me any incoming comments because I didn't pull anything yet, so just the information. Now if I go back here into branches, development, I can do a merge from, or you have it here too, I think, and we want to merge from upstream development. We want to merge from this one into our local development. And again, you have the choice to tick or untick this. I know that it's safe to leave it ticked for this, but if you're unsure, you want to try something out, you don't want to commit, you want to modify before you commit, you could untick it. And it's going to show me here that the repository was updated and I have 17 commits that I have only locally, that I don't have on my origin branch. So these are all the commits that happened between the last time I worked on this project. And those could come from anybody, could come, see there's one from me, and there are a couple from other people, Ben and Mitchell Sellers, and all kinds of people work while you're also working. So I want to push that to my origin to make sure the 3 parts are up to date. And it's done. Now I'm gonna create a new branch just for my change, and I'm gonna call it issue and the issue number. You can call it other ways, but it's common to name them with the issue number. By the way, that name must not include spaces or special characters. Your pull request, no, issues, your issues. So the one we wanted to work on was 2146. So issue 2146, oops, 2146, and create branch, which is pretty much instant. And the bold one are the one we're working, or the one you see on the bottom is the one we're working on. So now I'm starting with 0 commits, 0 changes and 0 commits. So we're even with everything. And the first change we need to make is the workaround for ensuring that the browser form field suggestions do not cover upper things. And I've done it in another instance of Visual Studio just to not make you wait through all the process of troubleshooting and testing. And so again, it's all already tested, and I'm basically just taking this code and putting it right here. Whoops, I cannot copy. Okay, so I'm gonna go by hand again. So basically what we're gonna do here, well, what I already done is that I created a function called get random string, and that returns mat.random plus 1. This is going to give us a random number between 0 and just before 1, so 0.999999, but it could be 0. So I want to add 1 to that to make sure we never get 0, because what I'm going to use then is toString on a base 36 character set. So it's going to give us 26 letters of the alphabet plus 10 numbers, and that's going to convert this number to that. And when that happens, the first 3 characters will be the actual number, and then the rest will be starting to get into letters and numbers and more random stuff. So I want to take that and make sure that we only catch at index 2 to index 6. So that means we're capturing 4 characters after the third one, because the index starts at 0. And it pretty much covers all the scenarios, except the number could be 0, and then we would have 1, and that would give us 1 as a result. So we don't want that, so I'm gonna add it with the same thing that I copied here, and that will give us that if this is 0, the chances are very slim, but if it happens, we're adding another 4 characters, so the chances of both of them being 0 on the same line of code is really slim. So we pretty much sure that we're gonna get letters and numbers every time. So we're taking 4 letters from this one, 4 letters from that one, which is going to give us something between 4 and 8 letters, depending if we got a 0 or not on the result of random. But we're pretty safe that we're going to have a random value every time. So we're going to use jQuery here to find an input that has a data name of country, and from that we're gonna change the attribute autocomplete, which in some versions is empty, but on the latest version it says autocomplete off, and we're gonna replace this by the random string. And we're gonna take the same thing but for the region. So that should cover it for having a random autocomplete value. And to test that, unfortunately, there's no easy way. You're gonna have to open your 2 websites, keyboard shortcuts are not working here. So basically I'm gonna open on the left my source, which is in the Dnn.Platform website, and it's gonna be in desktop modules, admin, security, and on the right I'm gonna open the website we already had. So I would create a new one, but because the latest release is not working and I don't want this video to be too long, I'm gonna use the one we already have here. And we need to go into desktop modules, admin, security. Another way to get into the correct folder would have been to right click here and open folder in Explorer. So now I have them left and right. The file I modified was profile ascx. This one here, so I'm gonna copy, paste, replace the one at destination, and right now if I go back into our test site, the change I made right now is a front-end change, so it's JavaScript, and should not cause the site to restart. If it did, it's just because we were doing other stuff for too long. But when you're going to be doing changes that affect the DLL and you replace it in the bin folder, that triggers a restart. So just be aware of that. It's a normal thing to happen. So now if I go to edit my profile, address, so in the region if I start typing something, nothing pops up, and in the country I now have the DNN expandable basically drop down list without being covered by Chrome suggestions. And just to make absolutely sure, we should now see autocomplete equals, and we have a little issue because that's in the yeah, we have a little issue here. Sub here is wrong, so substring. There we go. So we now have autocomplete equals and a random string. Now, why we don't have it on the region is because... oh, it's because we don't have a country selected. Okay, I got it. So if we now hit Canada, we should now have it. Well, it gets replaced totally by a drop down, so we're fine. That's gonna work. And the second part of the issue is to bring the country above the region. Now, this we have to consider always when making these type of changes. The user profile fields and field orders is customizable by the admins. So we never want to break or change something on the admins unexpectedly. So the solution we're going to implement is going to affect new websites, and for people that already have running sites and are upgrading, we will just document this, that they can choose to reverse the order if they wish to, and the reason why. So that change will be in the website templates. Basically, when you install Dnn, you get offered to have a blank website or a website that has already some content. So that's in the Dnn.Platform. It's a bit confusing, but if you follow along, let's just close a couple things. You're gonna see a templates folder here. Okay, so these are the templates used. So the resource file is the strings, the text strings, but the configuration is this here. And the template file will open here as an XML file. And if you scroll, it's in the beginning, you're going to see all the profile properties are here, and that's the order they will be created in. So if we just scroll down in the location section, street, city, you see region and country. So we're just gonna take country and bring it above region and keep the same line styles. I'm gonna save this. This is if you create a blank website. If you create the default website, it's gonna use this template, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna take the country section here, we're gonna bring it over the region, and this should be our commit. Now we changed 3 files, and we see here 5 changes. Visual Studio has the habit to when you edit a web form user control, to also suggest that you have changes in the C# and in the designer file. But if you just open it and close it, it goes away. It notices now that there are no changes. Same thing for that one. So I don't know what's the logic here, but basically that's how you clean that up. And there is something happening because there's a little star next to them, so I don't know exactly what's happening. Now we have 3 changes. We cleaned up our commit. If you edited anything else that is not related to issue 2146, then you can stage just what you need. And I like to go through each file and open them here in compare mode to make sure that everything is clean. You see here, I could delete this. This is not important for our change. This is correct, this is okay, this is closed here, this is closed there, that looks fine. Same thing on the other one, this one looks better. Now this one has something odd. Yeah, you see I have 2 profile definitions here, so this is wrong. This should be like that. This should be like that. And okay, you see tab and spaces don't do the same thing. So now it's cleaner. You can also view it with different options on the top. This option here is gonna ignore white space. So if you have this here, that gets ignored. But I like as much as possible to keep it clean. It's easier for people who don't know how to use this ignore white space thing. So these two look fine. If I go to my profile ASCX, well, I inserted all this code block, and the only thing that really changed is this here. But anyway, that's okay. And let's close and save. So we're ready to commit this. We're gonna click on the pencil here. Now your commit message, something that describes what you did here, but it's not as important as the actual pull request. But I like to still, be descriptive. So fixed an issue that where the browser would cover the region and country drop downs. I'm gonna copy this because I'm gonna reuse it probably for my pull request. So I'm gonna commit this, and I need to push this branch to the web in order to be able to make a pull request. I cannot make a pull request from my local machine. I might turn off my machine. So that's the change I need to push. We are good to go. Now on GitHub, which is already open here, if I just go into code or whatever, I'm gonna see the recent things that relate to you. So I'm logged in. I'm gonna see, hey, you just pushed this. What do you want to do with it? So I want to create a pull request. Now the title, we want to try to keep it short enough that we don't have it wrapping from here to here. So fixed issue where the browser covered the region and country drop downs. Okay, there we go. So now we have an issue pull request template right here. So please read contribution guidelines first. I've read them. I'm gonna explain them to you in short, but basically if you go to the repository, you're gonna see a contributing MD linked at the bottom. Please do read that. And here what we're gonna do, please make sure that there is a corresponding issue created, what we did first, and reference it in the PR by writing exactly fixes space # and the issue number, or closes space #123. I think close without the S also works, but I am not 100% sure, and make sure that I usually use closes. So closes number, we had what, 2146 exactly. Or I could do the # and start searching for browser form fill, and it would find them. So it's kind of easy. And then we have a summary. Please describe the code changes as you see fit, so that reviewers, okay, the person who's gonna review this might not have experienced all the issue. So you need to explain why you did what you did. So here we switched the country and region fields so that the country is first. This field populates the region dropdown, so it needs to be filled first in order to see a drop down of the regions available in that country. Without this, the entered region disappears when the user selects a country after the region. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing, implemented a workaround to prevent browsers to display their suggestions above the DNN built-in ones. Now, the person validating this might find our solution strange and not understand why. So we need to explain that in order for that person to not refuse that pull request. Due to a bug in Chrome, autocomplete equals off does not work to really make sure that the browser does not try to autocomplete. We need a value, we need a random value in the autocomplete parameter, so that the browser has no fields to suggest in memory. Okay, that sounds good. Now, it's a good idea if you have something a little bit more complex to offer how to test. So you can do another title with ## and how to test, right? So before, basically make sure to use Chrome latest release, and in the browser settings make sure you have a couple of form fill records for with addresses. Then before this fix, try to enter a state, could be a region, could be a province in my case, but try to enter a region. Enter a country that has regions available, US or Canada should do. Notice the region disappears. Well, first notice the browser covers the DNN dropdown. Notice the browser notice the region disappears after selecting a country region. Notice the typed region disappears for a drop down with nothing selected after selecting a country. After this fix, enter. Okay. Now there's a special case of new users versus existing users. So try add a new website, and notice after the website creation, the profile now has the profile editor now has the country above the region, and the browser no longer suggests addresses, no longer suggests regions and countries on those fields. That's pretty much it. Now we're gonna add a note. For existing users, I thought it could break custom profile forms to force the country above the region. They may not even use both, right? So for those users, I would add in the release notes that they can switch the order of these fields to prevent the problem. And that's it. So it's very descriptive. People know. Obviously, if we can avoid having some typos, it's even better. No, that's wrong. I thought. English is my second language, so sorry for these. And there we go. So we can create our pull request. Now, when you're going to do that, you may, if you didn't sign the CLA, which is the Contributing License Agreement, have a warning. Okay, you see here I have a check mark, license CLA, I'm fine, I already signed it. If you don't, then you're gonna need to click on that link and sign an agreement. It's not very complicated. Basically, you're just confirming that the code you're offering it no strings attached. It's a community project, and basically if you want to do something that you don't want to share, don't do it, so you're basically agreeing to that. But go ahead and read the details, and you're gonna have a little at the end of the form to accept those terms. You're gonna enter your GitHub credentials and stuff, and that's it. So in my case it's already done. You're gonna notice also two other things. So you're gonna see VSTS. So this is the continuous integration. So basically, as soon as you submit a pull request, it's gonna start building the solution. And if your pull request makes anything break, any tests, or it breaks the compilation or something like this, and this fails, right now there's work being done, so you might be excused. But when it's working, if your solution does not build, the pull request is going to be refused. That's kind of automatic. And the other thing is that people will only be able to merge your pull request when two specific persons will have approved it. So there's a short list of I think about 10 persons or 5, 6 or something like this that can approve pull requests because they have a lot of experience with different environments. So one of the persons in that short list needs to review your change before that gets merged. And don't expect that to happen next day. Yeah, if you're lucky to get it in the next release, if it's something easy to merge in and it solves a problem. If you're adding a new feature, it takes a bit longer because if people are working on bugs more than new features, then that goes in priority, and your feature might go to the next major release. Anyway, there's all the chat on the contributing about version, semantics versioning and stuff. So that's basically it. And as soon as that gets merged or people comment on it or whatever, you're gonna get notified, so you can have a discussion relating to this. And that is pretty much it. If there's a change requested, you can go back to the branch you have. Let me just close this. You can go back to the branch you have here, issue 2146. That's why I named them with the issue number. And you can edit and push a new commit. And if you do that, you don't have to do a new pull request. It's gonna be automatically updated in your file changes here. You can have the new changes, and you see how this is a clean commit. It's very clear. We're swapped the country and the region, and we added this block of code, so it's very clear and concise. That's it. So our second example is done.